Hey everybody, welcome. Got a new version of Philogix PBR Painter Pro. This one is not on the Blender market just yet. This is the beta 4.0 and I've got it for testing. So we're going to go over a few things. There's a bunch more textures to choose from. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this. I'll just go through a couple, and I've thrown one on now, just this regular brick texture. And just for the fun of it, I'm just going to select these and invert my selection. I'll create a nice new material and assign it to the outside. I'm just going to show you how Philogix PBR Painter Pro can do like a lot of footwork for you. And then you can kind of come in here. That's just going to connect the alpha, I bet. Yeah, it does. That's always a pain. You can come in here and it'll complement what your workflow actually is. So I'm just going to throw a Musgrave texture on here. And of course, you know, it comes out looking all stretched and crappy. So let's throw in a mapping vector node and then a texture coordinate set to object. Make it nice and easy, and it will project a nice texture. I don't like the color, so we can change the color just a touch. Maybe teardrop that so it's similar, and can play around with how this ends up looking to match it, even though it's not a brick texture, whatever. So we've got all of that, and if you want to pick up Philogix PBR Painter Pro, just a quick plug. It does support the channel, and I do get a little kickback from it. So the only way I get that, though, is if you actually click the link in the description. It'll end up tagging like 814 on the back of the link, and then within 24 hours, if you decide to purchase this, I'll get a little bit of credit for it, and it helps the channel. Smash the subscribe, smash that like as well, and let's jump right in. Now, if you are new to Philogix, you'll need to go into my playlist, and I'll show you. I've got a playlist dedicated to Philogix PBR Painter Pro, and even though most of these videos are from previous versions, they will very quickly and very easily bring you up to date with the features that are still not only current but new. And so with all of that said, make sure to jump in there and get your training, so you know I don't go over all of the basics again and again. So I'm going to close the info tab here. Now I've got the Suzanne selected, and this is one of my favorite demonstration models because it just has a UV built right in. You don't have to do a whole lot with it. And you click new pick shader, and we've got a few things that are new here. We've got the transmission roughness, and the subsurface color was added in a very recent but previous version as well. So you can choose metallic workflow, or you can choose the specular workflow, and I've got a tutorial based on that to give you a bit more of an in-depth kind of definition tutorial and a little step-by-step. So if you're in the industry, and you're professional texture, you're going to know more than anyone else if you're just doing this every day. And if a lot of people choose specular, but for this we go for the metallic workflow. You can choose between 512 and 4096. I go 2048 a lot of times. I switch to the GPU compute and the margin 16, quality of 2. You start out at 8. You can kind of put this wherever you want. You can bring it up just a little bit. And if you click here, you can grab your UV map and go ahead and be prepared to bake that as it is. And it comes with an unwrap already, which is spectacular. I'm going to leave the IDs on. And this is a little trick. This is one of the newer things. You can select mesh element IDs, and the eyes are separate elements here in the Suzanne, so it will select that just real quick. And you can apply a bevel, however, in whatever size you want. And then the ambient occlusion, you can have it only local or other objects affecting the AO. The curvature, that speaks for itself. You can get details of damage within the curvature of the mesh, and then the AO is going to also work with the smart materials. So it's a very packed add-on. So we can go ahead with all of that and just click bake. It'll live bake if you're in the Eevee engine, and you'll be able to see what's going on. You'll have an indication down here, and this will actually live bake as it goes through the different things. But I'll go ahead and pause the video. All right, let's explore a few of the new textures. I'll just click on the smart material icon. I'm gonna go to the base channel and scroll down just a little bit. You'll see you have a few different things you can select here: UV map, object, global, and decal. You've got some options, and you can select your UV map here. And as we come down, we can click the texture icon. It looks like some of these were reworked as the icons were actually reworked, but what I want to do is go for the fish scale first. So I was looking at that as soon as I had opened it. Oh, that's gorgeous. That is very nice. We do have a little split here in the projection. Pretty easy to fix. And this is a beta version, so I might expect a bug or two, but I think this is easily fixed with how we actually project onto the image. I mean, excuse me, the image onto the mesh. Yeah, here we go. So it's kind of stretches out on the face just a little bit, but overall that kind of cleaned it up just a little bit more. And that's pretty cool. I'm gonna go flat to box and see if we can clean this up a little bit more. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Now we can select, since I switched over to object, go ahead and select an object, and this can actually hit the end, get the end panel out of there. This can actually change where the texture ends up. So this would be pretty helpful. Not sure, but I think you can do this with an empty, which would make a little bit more sense than using a sphere, unless it's the empty sphere. So I'm going to grab that. And of course it does register it, but we'll see. It should work. There we go. Very nice. All right, so that is one way you can control textures through Philogix PBR Painter Pro. That is a static blender feature, but it's put in here like really slick. This is how I do my add-ons. I'll put stuff that needs to be in a box, you know, and isolate it, and then put a few really good properties on there so that the user has something to kind of work with. But that is a very nice texture, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one that I saw I liked. I think that meant to be stained glass. Yeah, the S is next to the D. It's a beta version. Don't judge. Don't judge. So stained glass looks very good with the same projection here. Don't forget, we do have a scale. We can kind of bring this thing back, make it a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, whatever you want to do with it. Look like confetti. Looks just like confetti. That's kind of cool. All right, cool. On to, whoop, we got some extra properties here. So we've got the alpha, the width, the roughness, random. Let's kind of play around with that. I would say that's a little bit more geometry nodes based. I like the features that we've got with the new Voronoi texture. We call it the Voronoi. At least that's what I call it. I heard Pablo say that. So I'm not trying to steal it, but it sounded good at the time. Yeah, that's a really good way. Very quick and easy. And I will say that things are kind of lagging up. I might just about be out of RAM because I've been baking like crazy. So I don't think it's the add-on. I'm pretty sure it's just me. Whoops. We can just... Oh, there's no reason for the alpha channel here at the moment. No problems there. So let's go on to the next one. we've got the blocks glass. Check that one out. I won't go into too much detail, but we can just kind of look, because Philogix really outdid themselves on this version. The dev sent this over and he's like, see if there's any bugs. And I was like, yeah, man, no problem. And I get to beta test and make a tutorial for it. So that's really cool. Oof, that is nice. The vintage glass, very nice. I think if I bring back my base here, and I'm going to bake out the base too. You look at the reflections, because the glass, the way the glass was, it was quite nice. So I'm actually going to bake this out, or do I already have the material for it? Should have material. Yeah, here we go. So I had my sub material I attached to the outside border here, and I wanted to put the white glass or this one. I don't know which one I wanted here. White glass. Let's go with that. And maybe that wasn't it. Go with glass. Yeah, there we go. This is the one. And so the reflections on these are quite nice. Oh, you know what? I've had snap on this whole time, so that definitely doesn't help things. I'll go ahead and change the texture here on old Susie. And I think we'll go with some damage for her and just kind of beat her up a little bit so she shows up better in the reflection. These are gorgeous textures, though. And this one's taken a good little minute to put on. There we go. That's fantastic. Look at the details here. This is nice. It'd be a lot of work to do that by hand. And then you've got some procedural stuffs down here to increase details, which should make it more finite. And then, yeah, that opens it up nicely. Then we can change the roughness. Let's see how this value is going to overall affect. That's a standard roughness channel. Okay, very good. And then the damage itself, we should be able to see a nice gradual change, but I'm chopping up right now for some reason. So how about I just enter in a 0.5? Very nice. Enter in 1. Yeah, okay, very cool. So something like 0.75 should look not enough. Bring it down a little bit. And then the bump, I believe this just inverts. Oof, wow, that's nice. I really like that. See, I'm not a pro at creating textures by any means. So it's nice to have an add-on. Oh, it is an invert. Yeah. Okay, it's just a bump invert factor. It's cool. It's nice that it's set up as a factor. I've figured out how to do that in geometry nodes, and it's just day saver, man. It's so much more fun. Okay, that's really nice. I like that. And then for the base here, let's throw something else on here. I think that cracked asphalt is never overplayed. I love how that looks. And then we've got this nice damage on damage look going on. Very good. All right, so I'm not going to go over any more textures. I'm just going to run down a few different features here. They've added an copy for this. You can copy paste link and duplicate textures. Over here, in case you didn't realize it, you do have an ID map, which I don't really want to be there. I want to be here. And you've got the ID map, so you can see that it's automatically baked that in with the mesh ID elements, which is fun. You've got the base, the sub, and all those different things. If you didn't bake it, it's not going to show up, so don't try. I've got the AO here. You can kind of see where those natural landing shadows would normally be. And then you've got the curvature. Very easy to see that. That was kind of almost the map that we saw when we first opened it. And then we go back to the material, you get the layer mask, but we don't have any layers right now. And then to identify your materials, it is always a good idea to name it. So I would just put in base damage. Then I can change the color. So if I always have damage set as red, in my quick indicator here, if I have a bunch of different textures, and I guarantee you're going to end up with a lot once you get going with Philogix, you'll be able to identify that very quickly. And of course, you can trash anything you don't like. Same thing applies down here, and I can actually collapse anything I'm not using, kind of minimize resources on the add-on and on your screen. Now we can always come over and add in an extra layer here. And this one can be my IDs, which should be right here, if I remember correctly. Haven't used Philogix now in a couple weeks. I've been just making my my own stuff here, but we'll add ID and drop down the parameters. And if we add an ID color and click on the teardropper here, it's going to pop up the IDs automatically. So if I just go for the red, this will now point, this material will now point to that particular ID. And then you've got to kind of play around with the slider right here. And when you do that, you'll be able to manipulate the texture in that ID area. All right, so I just went ahead and deleted all of those because this isn't going to work without a nice base layer. So I'll go ahead and add a base layer to this. Do like a, you know what, I don't want to do an image texture right now. Let's just throw something on. Let's just throw a base color, and red will be perfectly fine. And so I'll throw on another color. Doesn't matter what it is. Just throw on green. This one's going to be a layer. I'll throw the ID on for this one, and then select my ID. Select the right eye, and voila, it's green. I did have to like close. I had to close Blender and reopen. It was getting to be a pain. So grab another set here. Should I delete that? I'll throw another color in. Or actually, I don't have to do that. I could throw in the woodland camouflage. Oh wow, he put a bunch more. He upgraded everything. See, I'm just doing this. I should have done this live, but here we go. So the woodland camo, and it's gonna go over everything if you don't put it on an ID usually. So I'm gonna add another ID to that particular layer, and I grab this side, and once it all loads, whenever it loads, I can play around with the tolerance just a touch. Maybe it's not gonna do what I want. Let's see here, material 3. Link the layer below it as a child layer, and now let's see what we get. All right, so I just deleted that, went back to the base channel, add the camouflage. Go over to the layers. I'm gonna add another ID. Grab the ID color. This is just so much fun. And I should have my camouflage on that eyeball now. And with all of that, we can grab the tolerance scale here, and you'll be able to see how that could kind of change everything. So that's how you adjust that to get it just right. Now I should be able to go back to the base and be able to play around with this. I can drop the UVs down, change the scale so it looks nice. And then at this point, because I've got a base layer, I can start painting on the base layer and doing all kinds of different stuff. And I won't affect anything around it. So for the fun of it, let's just do that. I'll actually go back to my base. Yes, go to the base. I'll add an image layer and go over to the layer system. Drop paint. Actually, I don't want to do the base layer like that. So let's delete that one out. And now on the base, I'll go over to the layers, create new. And I could drop the alpha on this one because I just want to paint directly on this, even though it's not an image behind it. No big deal. I'll bring this up to the 2048 if I can manage to type in correct. And once that thing loads, I go to my paint panel and I see a bunch of extra work here has been done. This is extremely nice. So we've got seams 1, 2, we got random dots, which I think I'm gonna have to go with the random dots. You click on texture painting, realize that you have to click finish, don't change any screens. My strength is up, looks like I'm painting white on here when I do paint. And let's see if that did not take, or am I painting at all? I hit X to switch over. Ah, here we go. I was painting, I had the radius way too big. That's hilarious, but that looks nice. So you can paint these little dots all over the place, kind of these random dots. That is just one massive dot that just didn't take. And you can click finish. Let's see, what else can we paint here? I always like cracks. We got a leakage, which is the original one, which I like a lot. We got fingerprints. I haven't tried fingerprints yet. That's really cool. Let's try fingerprints and change that just to blue. And it comes out white. That's fantastic. Anyways, that's pretty neat. You can paint that. I'll finish that one. I'll select a different brush. We got random rings. That's pretty neat. Marker. Who doesn't want to color on something with a marker? So let's have some fun with this one. I might want to bring this down just a smidge and bring the strength up. Oh, it's pretty basic. It's nice though. I like it. And if we come back in, you'll have screw heads, radial gradients, linear gradient, the seams, which we can kind of play with. And I'm going to bet I need to tap F and go pretty far down on this one. Oh, wow. Those are extremely small. Let me bring the radius up a touch on this one. And I'm switching between black and white here just to have a little bit of fun so you can tell what I'm doing. And bring the radius down. It's actually very accurate. It almost seems like it's kind of guiding. So I'm just using a mouse here. So nothing too special. And I guess we've got to select the rings and see what we can do with those. Maybe bring the radius up a touch. Oh, there they are there. Very nice, very cool. So this paint channel, I'll click finish. And don't forget this little trick. What I can do now is name this an anchor. I'll go back to height. I'll drop a custom layer in. And I'm not naming any of these, you know, it's just the way it is. Just not going to do it this time. and I will drop an anchor on height with the new custom layer. Scroll all the way down, select the layer mask anchor, and then I will get height on everything, which is ridiculous. I love how this looks. I'm just screwing around, getting it right, getting it wrong at the same time, because it's just fun. It's more fun for me to do this because I've used Philogix enough to just figure it out, but this looks really good. And so here I'll have a factor or two. Kind of wondering if we throw an invert on here, like I usually like to do, that will bump it out. And so now we got all this stuff poked out. And that was the marker back there. So that looks pretty cool. And you can get like a little mix between the two if you want. It's like a bump fighting a bump here. But whatever. See if I can link these layers and get a better reaction. Anyways, there you go, guys. I'm gonna check out this thing, and I know there's more features, but like I didn't get a list with it, so, or I got a list, but it wouldn't unzip for some reason. So I'm just exploring this as I go. Super cool, very good add-on. Go pick this up. It's on Blender Market, but just go get it with my link. I really appreciate it. Support the channel, guys, and I've got Light Magic Studio 6 out right now. It's got gobos. It's got all kind of cool stuff. I got LM6 here, and the new option is, well, there's more than one. I've got a loop here, camera manager. Let me just throw this in real quick. I'm always going to plug my own stuff too. The camera manager is still here. I put that back in from LM5. And this loop now, it's going to show you all of the mesh objects. Okay, and then if you switch this, it's going to show you all the light objects. So if I grab this light and Shift D, I'll have all of these lights. And then I can change, if you will, all of these features and add them as a collection. Change all these properties, excuse me, and then go back and change a few more things, and you'll see how this looks. Like this is the setting I wanted. I'll add this, and I'm adding a whole new collection. And if I go back, you can see I'm changing all of these, or everything I changed anyways. And there you go. That's it. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial.